Well, it's winter time, which means it's a particularly bad time to be a low car. So big chunks of ice falling off of trucks is an issue. But one of the biggest downfalls of winter is that we can't really wash cars at the house. I hate drive-through car washes because they're pretty hard on your paint. Having it as our best option for keeping salt off the vehicles, that outweighs the inconvenience of having to do a minor paint correction once winter is over. So, thing is, I can't go through any of our local drive-through car washes because I'm just a little too low. Today we're going to be taking off the Progress lowering springs that I'm on and going back to the stock Bilstein suspension that came on this car. So a good measurement when comparing suspensions is the distance from the center of the wheel to the fender. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab those measurements for you so you know what it looks like on the Progress springs. In the rear, looks like we're sitting at about 13.5. In the front, I'm gonna call it 13.75. Let's get it up, get the wheels off, and get started. Show you how easy this is. Stupid hand. A couple of extensions, a couple of 17 mils, 14, a 12, and either a 14 wrench or a long 14 on a swivel is what I found to work. For the bolts inside the trunk for the rear shocks, that seemed to be a combination that worked for me. You'll find something that works. If you got smaller hands than me, you'll have an easier time. The garage heater's finally caught up a little bit, so you can start removing a layer here and there. Maybe you'll get lucky. So we're looking at the front driver's side first. Show you what we're working with here. So here's that aftermarket Progress spring on an OEM Bilstein. Down here's the lower mount. And then up top in the engine bay, you have three 14 millimeters. Before we do those top and bottom bolts, we're going to free the brake line that's attached here. And we're going to free the ABS sensor wire with this bolt here. Alright, got those two freed up so they're not going to get bent up during our bending and twisting shenanigans. Next thing we're going to do is free the sway bar end links. That bolt right there. It might be easier to remove some tension off of the sway bar end link by jacking up against the bottom of the control arm. So, I'm just going to take that up a little bit to relieve some of that pressure. And there we go. You can see it kind of popped out of its socket a little bit there. Now we'll just lower that jack to let that tension back off. Next, we're going to get these bolts here that hold the upper control arm. Both of those are out, and this upper control arm is free. So this whole assembly can move around freely. So let's get the shock free. I'm going to start with the bolt on the bottom. It runs through nut and bolt. With the bottom of the shock loose, now we just gotta get the top. Alright, so we're working at some kind of weird angles here for a couple of these, so you're gonna want a 14 mil. I like to put it on the end of one of those wobbly extensions, so a little easier to get in here. For this one on the outboard side, you don't need to remove this hose. It's super squishy and moves right out of the way. There we go. Alright, now we should be able to just pull this shock right out. And it's going to come right out first try. Just like that. Easy day. So you can see why we needed to disconnect that brake line and that ABS line, because we really needed to be able to flex this thing out here to get that shock out of there. Installation is exact opposite of removal, so we're just gonna get her slapped back up in there. Boom, in place. Put the nuts back up on top. See how easy it is to get this one back in. All right, time to take a look at the rear. The rear is a lot simpler. The rear is not hard at all. So it goes through top up there. It mounts at the bottom. So what we're gonna do is pull these two right here. That'll give us the flexibility of the knuckle that we need. All right. Grab that bolt out of the bottom of the shock. But none of that is the hard part. The hard part is in the trunk.
State your name. Big been dope on flame. I just switched the lane. Damn, he did it again. I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping the bass. Slab on everything. Swimming, you taking away. Cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses. I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip.
So let's get the stock one put back in. On top. And then set it on its perch at the bottom. So I got it in place. I'm gonna put the nuts back on the top inside the trunk, and then we'll get everything re-secured down here. That's good. Got the hardware and the trunk back together, so we'll see about getting these guys plopped back in. Easy enough. Shouldn't be too hard. Alright, the whole driver's side is done. It's back on the ground. And it looks kind of thick. Once the mud flaps are on, I think this thickness is good. We'll see what it looks like when we get it outside. I might pull the wheel spacer back off. This is with a 1-inch spacer on the rear, so we'll see. The ride height is definitely higher though. It definitely regained that inch or so that those springs were dropping it. Obviously it still needs to resettle though, so let's get the other side done and then we'll take it around the block, let it settle, see what it looks like. So I've shown you how to do both the front and the rear. I don't need to show it to you again on the passenger side. What I'm gonna do on the passenger side is set it up as a time lapse to show you how quickly this can really be done once you've done it once or twice. I don't know if I'm gonna start at the front or back, whatever. We're gonna get the whole passenger side done, and then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, well that's it. All the suspension is mounted up. I'm gonna go take it around the block. let everything settle a little bit, and then we're gonna measure it up and see what the difference is. Trash day. Let's close that. Alright, we're back from the test drive. Should be pretty settled now. I, went through the car wash. So, let's measure it up and see how much lower it sits. Did I say how much lower? How much higher? That is a good 14 1/4. The back we're looking at about 14 5/8. I don't remember the exact numbers from earlier, but they were both 13s, and these are both 14s, so how unexpected. It's taller. So if you found this useful, if you think I do a decent job of showing you how to do a thing, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll show you how to do more things. Good job, team. We did it.
You're gonna have a bad time if you clicked on this video to learn something. Don't like and subscribe. Just don't watch it.
I never claimed to be proud of this.